1978, the Golden Press released a 128-page comic book titled UFO Encounters, and then the cover goes on to announce true stories of 20th century's most fascinating riddle, and at the same time they released a brother edition titled UFO Mysteries, which was 96 pages. Now these were originally published by Gold Key Comics in various UFO titles of theirs, and they were printed in the late 1960s and early 1970s. Today we're going to take a look at UFO Encounters issue. I was fortunate, and I found both issues in really good condition in the dumpster of a house about 2 blocks from me that was being totally cleaned out. And so I gladly brought those home to my collection. There are 69 UFO cases told in a very colorful comic panel way. And the cases are some of the best known, though the facts as presented are not 100% accurate, but quite entertaining for a juvenile audience at the time. These include my favorite, Mystery of Michigan, as I had a sighting during that 1966 UFO flap. Others include the Foo Fighters of World War II, the Thomas Mantell Jr. case in which Mantell lost his life, the Lubbock Lights from 1961, which took place in Texas, and there is also the 1962 case of the singed Scoutmaster from Florida. Also told is a fascinating story of a 1954 landing in France, and aliens at Socorro, New Mexico in 1964, I believe it was, and so many, many more. So I've picked out a number of these to present to you in single individual panel format, so that you can check these out. I think it's an interesting way to try and do a review. So let's first start with Officer Lonnie Zamora's encounter at Socorro, New Mexico, and this is told in 17 panels, and let's take a look. remember when that happened because I was a little kid. I think I was 8 or 9 years old at the time, and I found it for some reason terrifying. But on September 3rd, 1965, a frightening encounter began on a dark and lonely road about 2:30 a.m. And the main figure was a Norman Muscalero who was hitchhiking near Exeter, New Hampshire. And before the encounter was over, there were many other witnesses also, including police officers. Titled The Exeter Enigma. This story is told in this comic book in 15 panels. So now let's take a look at the Exeter Enigma. (1963) through 1966 was an incredible period for very enigmatic UFO sightings across the United States, across the world, but there were so many in the United States. It was in the national news almost every night. Now on my channel here on YouTube, there are a number of videos that I produced on the 1966 Michigan UFO sightings. Not just because I live in Michigan, but because I had my second UFO sighting during this event, which lasted only the entire event in Michigan lasted only about 4 or 5 months. Now I won't recap my sighting because I've told it in other videos here, but I will say that one nighttime observation has for sure had a lasting impact on my life, almost in a haunting type way. I will never have the answers probably that I desire as to what was taking place then. But anyways, I'm going to present the Mystery of Michigan story right here. It consists of 14 panels. So let's take a look. Now, New Hampshire, New Hampshire experienced a second sighting in 1966, a year after the Exeter incident took place. And this was a frosty night on January 11th, as I said, 1966. And this sighting took place near the frozen Wanacue Reservoir. And again, there were many witnesses to the event, including police officers, very reliable sources, witnesses. And the sighting had a sequel on the night of January 14th, 1966, as the UFOs returned. Now, this story is told in only 12 panels, but it is an interesting case, and so let's take a look at that one now. There are many stories circulating which claim that when our astronauts visited the moon, that they were not alone and were in fact observed by someone or something of unknown origins. There are 14 panels in this exciting story. I find this, the contrast here that I'm going to say, quite compelling, because some people don't believe we ever went to the moon, which is obvious that we did. And then you have people that believe that we not only went to the moon, but we encountered probable alien entities on the moon. So it's kind of interesting. But anyways, in 14 panels, here is the story of one of man's encounters on the lunar surface. You know, I wish I could share all the stories from this comic book with you, but at present I cannot. The stories, even though produced for a juvenile audience, still provoke tons of speculation as to where the UFOs come from and who flies them. There are many different types of alien entities that have been seen. Some UFO occupants have been hairy and 3 feet tall. Others resembled you and I, except having long blonde hair, pale skin, and slanted eyes. They're referred to as the Nordic type alien. Then there are the Greys, who have bulbous heads and huge slanted black eyes and a tiny slit for a mouth and 2 little, like, small holes for a nose. The Greys always seem to have a desire to examine humans and take samples of both blood, skin, eggs, and sperm. Many who study UFOs believe they are doing hybrid experiments in an attempt to make a creature that is half human and half alien. And if such was the case, there are some very good arguments presented as to why an alien race might do that, but I have other thoughts on what's going on there, which I'll share with you another time. So, UFOs have been responsible for many blackouts as near as, to me, as New England and as far away as Brazil and other ports of call throughout the world. Some are called USOs, for unidentified submerged objects. One spectacular case of a USO took place at Shag Harbor, Nova Scotia, Canada. Now this story is told in 39 panels. It's the longest one in here, and it will touch upon some of the blackouts that took place. So let's take a look at aliens on Shag Harbor residents' minds as they hold to an annual celebration to commemorate the event. The stories I presented here should give you a good feel for what the entirety of the 128 pages features. There are also cases from Russia, encounters from ancient times, Mexico, Washington, D.C., France, and South America. Now, if you come across a copy of Golden Press's UFO Encounters at an antique store or a thrift store, I recommend snagging it if you have any interest in the UFO phenomenon. That's what I have for you, my friends. I send you much love, and thank you so much for watching. And stay tuned, as I will soon be reviewing the Brother Volume UFO Encounters. God bless you all. Stay safe, stay well, and stay happy.